A sudden shift in a quiet rural community has now widened into a mystery gripping the entire region. What began as an ordinary spring afternoon has transformed into a fast-moving investigation where every minute, every sighting, and every scrap of information could determine what happened to two missing children. Before we go deeper into the timeline and the discoveries shaping this case, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the latest updates as this story continues to unfold. The first major breakthrough came from a verified public sighting on May 1st, a piece of information investigators immediately described as a timeline anchor. For cases like this, where the early hours after the disappearance dictate the direction of the entire search, a confirmed sighting is invaluable. This particular encounter did more than simply confirm that the children were seen publicly. It provided investigators with a reliable point around which the rest of the timeline can be reconstructed. Before this confirmation, many details were vague or conflicted, based on scattered reports, assumptions, and unverified claims circulating online. But the May 1st sighting forced the investigation to tighten its focus and re-evaluate every lead that preceded and followed that moment. It also helped investigators rule out several inaccurate assumptions that had taken root early on. For example, theories suggesting the children had been missing earlier than reported could now be dismissed, as the sighting placed them in a known location at a known time. That level of clarity is rare in the early stages of a missing person case. Once the children's presence on May 1st was confirmed, investigators had a starting point, a fixed moment of certainty in an otherwise tangled timeline. This allowed them to create a structured sequence of events surrounding the disappearance and to eliminate several contradictory claims. The importance of this cannot be overstated. Establishing a verified window of time is a first step toward determining how, when, and under what circumstances a disappearance occurred. Yet despite this critical anchor in the timeline, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, emphasized repeatedly that confirmed information remains extremely limited. And where information is scarce, speculation grows quickly, often faster than the facts themselves. The RCMP has warned that harmful rumors circulating online have not only misled concerned community members, but have actively hindered parts of the investigation. Unverified theories spread across social media have created confusion, sent investigators in the wrong direction, and damaged the credibility of innocent individuals who were pulled into the public conversation without evidence. According to the RCMP, the volume of misinformation has reached a point where investigators are spending unnecessary hours addressing claims that originate from YouTube discussions, social media threads, and private message screenshots rather than from trustworthy sources. Each time investigators must pause to correct a rumor or redirect public attention away from a false narrative, time and energy are taken away from tasks that directly support the case. The RCMP noted that this environment, where speculation outpaces fact, creates an additional layer of complexity in a case that was already fragile due to the lack of early physical evidence. Part of managing that complexity involves the enormous volume of video footage collected from the public, including dashcam recordings, surveillance clips, and smartphone videos. While these submissions are vital, they also require step-by-step forensic review. Investigators must ensure timestamps are accurate, video files are complete, and sequences are examined in the proper order. Something as simple as an incorrectly set timestamp on a dashcam can shift the apparent timeline by minutes or hours, potentially altering investigative conclusions. Because of these risks, video analysis must be done methodically. Every frame must be catalogued, synced with other evidence, and evaluated in its broader context. This is why the RCMP is urging the public not to upload potentially relevant footage to social media, but instead submit original, unedited files directly to investigators. Edited clips, re-uploads, and screen recordings degrade quality and often strip videos of their metadata, information that can help verify authenticity and timing. When original files are posted online first, investigators frequently end up with versions that have already passed through several rounds of compression, making small but critical details harder to detect. More importantly, online circulation can create a misleading narrative when people begin drawing conclusions from clips shared out of context. These online narratives have already led to numerous false leads, wasted search hours, and in several cases, reputational harm to individuals who were never connected to the investigation. Community speculation, while often driven by concern, tends to fill gaps with assumptions. Once these ideas gain momentum, They become difficult to reverse even when investigators release clarifying statements. The RCMP has urged the public to understand that real investigative work relies on evidence, not theories. The more energy spent pursuing inaccurate tips, the longer it may take to uncover what actually happened. One of the most important requests investigators continue to emphasize is a need for dashcam footage recorded between April 28th and May 2nd along Garlic Road. This stretch has become a focal point for reconstructing the children's movements in the days leading up to the disappearance. The RCMP believes that vehicles passing through this road during that period may have captured critical details, perhaps subtle, easily overlooked clues that could clarify the children's last known movements or help identify individuals who were in the area at key times. The response from the public has been significant. So far, investigators have processed over 355 tips and conducted more than 50 interviews, demonstrating both the community's level of concern and the sheer workload investigators must manage. Each tip must be documented, classified, and evaluated for credibility. Each interview must be transcribed, compared against known facts, and cross-referenced with other statements. This volume of information requires systematic organization, something investigators are trained for, but which becomes increasingly complex as the number of submissions grows. In the early days of the search, manpower was focused on large-scale physical efforts. Teams combed through dense forests, waterways, and backroads. Helicopters scanned from above, search parties moved mile by mile on foot, and K-9 units attempted to trace the children's scent. But as hours turned into days, the lack of significant physical clues forced the investigation to shift from wide-area searches to targeted forensic work. This shift is a natural transition in missing person cases when initial physical searches yield little. Investigators must then turn to timelines, digital evidence, interview inconsistencies, and minute details that could provide a thread to pull. One detail that has drawn attention, though not necessarily investigative weight, is a stepfather's claim of having taken a polygraph test. While such announcements often capture public interest, the RCMP has clarified that polygraph results are not reliable indicators of guilt or innocence. They do not function as proof, nor are they admissible in court for that purpose. Polygraph examinations can be influenced by stress, anxiety, misunderstanding of questions, or simply the individual's physical response to being tested. As a result, investigators view polygraphs as one tool among many, and one that rarely plays a decisive role. The RCMP's caution around this topic stems from how easily the public can misinterpret or overemphasize polygraph claims, leading to misplaced suspicion or false confidence in an individual's statements. This theme, the need for careful interpretation, runs through every piece of communication the RCMP has released so far. Their wording is intentionally precise, and for good reason. Each update must avoid triggering new waves of speculation or distorting public assumptions. A single misunderstood phrase can fuel days of misinterpretation online. Investigators choose their language deliberately to maintain clarity, preserve evidence integrity, and prevent statements from being misused to support inaccurate theories. As the investigation moves forward, the message remains clear. Reliable information is the foundation of progress. Facts, not rumors, not speculation, not assumptions, will ultimately determine where the search goes next. The timeline continues to tighten, the evidence continues to be analyzed, and investigators continue working through the overwhelming amount of data submitted by the public. In the end, this case serves as a sharp reminder of how fragile early investigative efforts can be. A single verified sighting becomes a lifeline. A single inaccurate rumor becomes a setback. And a community searching for answers must rely on patience, clarity, and trust in the investigative process. While the path forward may still hold uncertainty, every confirmed detail brings the truth one step closer.